The forward operating base lay in ruin, smoke curling from twisted metal and scorched earth, the aftermath of a relentless siege. Vehicles once ready for rapid deployment were now crumpled shells, some still smoldering, their engines silent. Communication equipment hung, useless in the open, antennas bent or shattered, radios crackling faintly with static that carried no orders. Along the walls, wounded soldiers huddled, their uniforms soaked in dust and blood, eyes wide and searching, waiting for something, anything to signal safety or direction. The air was thick with dust and the acrid scent of burning fuel, mingling with the metallic tang of scorched steel. Silence pressed over the base, broken only by the occasional groan or cough, the ghost of explosions lingering in the ears of those who survived. Into this chaos stepped Lieutenant General Michael Rowe, his boots crunching on debris-strewn asphalt as he surveyed the devastation. The lines of his uniform were smeared with ash, his face set in grim determination, every movement precise even in the face of uncertainty. He called out to the gathered personnel, his voice cutting through the haze, asking if there were any Apache-qualified pilots left to take the helicopters into the sky. The question hung in the smoke-filled air, unanswered, swallowed by the enormity of what had just occurred. Every soldier present understood the stakes, the silence amplifying the weight of the loss. Dust swirled in low clouds around overturned crates and scattered munitions, and the morning sun tried to pierce through the gray haze, casting the scene in a muted, ghostly light. Soldiers pressed against walls for safety, eyes darting to shadows, searching for threats that may or may not still linger. Every movement carried the tension of survival, the subtle anticipation of what must happen next. Though none could speak of it the base, though battered and bleeding, was alive with unspoken urgency, a place where the line between despair and hope had been blurred. In the stillness, the remnants of chaos and courage intertwined, leaving the impression of a place on the edge, where the next action could change everything, and where unseen forces were about to shift the course of what had seemed like total ruin. Claire Thompson moved through the forward operating base with the quiet confidence of someone entirely at home among machines. Though few noticed her presence, her coveralls bore the permanent stains of hydraulic fluid and lubricating oil. Sleeves rolled to reveal calloused forearms that spoke of years spent turning wrenches and inspecting rotors. Her hair was tied neatly at the back, practical, out of her eyes, and her hands were steady, precise, the kind of hands that understood torque, tolerances, and the subtleties of an AH-64 attack helicopter as if the machines themselves had taught her. She was MOS-15R, a maintenance technician assigned to keep the Apache helicopters in peak condition, though the official records provided little insight into the depth of her training or experience. Her file showed only surface-level assignments. Anything beyond that was either redacted or absent. Claire arrived before anyone else in the maintenance bay, slipping in while the morning light struggled through dusty windows, and left long after the last of the day's tasks had been checked off. She never lingered for conversation. In the mess hall, she chose the farthest corner, quietly observing rather than participating, her back straight, posture unassuming. Pilots joked about wrench turners and background crew, laughing over coffee or wiping dust from their flight suits, yet never directed their attention toward her. They assumed she preferred the machines over company, or perhaps simply didn't care to socialize. Claire never corrected these assumptions. She moved through the base like a ghost, unnoticed, her presence a constant hum beneath the louder, more visible roles of pilots, commanders, and other personnel. Despite the invisibility, Claire's work was meticulous and exacting. Every maintenance check, every repair, every inspection was done to the highest standard, though it rarely drew comment or acknowledgement. The rotors she serviced spun flawlessly. The fuel lines she inspected ran smoothly. Yet her impact was invisible to all but the machinery itself. She did not seek recognition, nor did she reveal the skills and experiences that lurked behind her quiet exterior. Her silence was not loneliness. It was discipline, a focus that allowed her to excel without the need for applause or validation. Those who saw her might have thought her ordinary, another member of the support staff. Yet there was an air of difference, subtle, almost imperceptible. The way she moved, the way her hands knew exactly what to do before anyone could ask, hinted at capabilities beyond the visible assignments. Claire Thompson was the ghost in the hangar, the one no one thanked, the one no one noticed, and she was perfectly content with it. Yet, beneath the quiet routine, there was depth and strength, the kind that would soon reveal itself when circumstances demanded more than anyone could anticipate. The siege erupted without warning, a sudden barrage that turned the forward operating base into a whirlwind of smoke, fire, and chaos. Mortars slammed into the perimeter, sending plumes of dirt and shrapnel skyward, while RPGs streaked through the air toward helicopters and supply depots. Small arms fire cracked from multiple directions, punctuating the roar of explosions and filling the compound with a staccato rhythm of danger. The CRAM and defensive systems, partially damaged from the initial salvo, offered limited protection, leaving soldiers exposed and scrambling for cover. Wounded personnel were moved to safer areas, medics weaving through debris-laden streets under a hail of fire. The air was thick with dust, acrid smoke, and the scent of fuel, each inhalation a reminder of the vulnerability of the base under assault. Amid the chaos, Claire Thompson moved with calm precision. Her hands were steady, her mind focused on the tasks that would preserve life and equipment. She approached ruptured fuel lines, assessing damage and making critical repairs, her motions practiced and efficient despite incoming rounds. Sparks flew from damaged electrical systems, and she stabilized circuits that threatened to ignite further hazards. Supply crates, abandoned in haste, became impromptu barricades, relocated by her hands to protect helicopters that could not yet fly. Every action was deliberate, every movement purposeful, as if she were orchestrating an invisible defense no one else could see. She did not wait for orders or seek guidance, where others hesitated, frozen by fear or the need for instructions. Claire improvised, making split-second decisions that would determine whether essential systems survived long enough for the base to remain operational. Her uniform bore streaks of oil and grime, her face set in concentration. Yet her movements were fluid and confident. Soldiers around her moved in a blur of panic, their shouts and calls for help mixing with the constant barrage. But Claire's actions were methodical, almost detached from the immediate terror, focused solely on saving what she could. Though invisible to the bulk of the base personnel, her contributions were vital. Helicopters that might have been lost to ruptured fuel lines remained serviceable. Electrical systems that could have failed catastrophically stayed online. Improvised barricades absorbed impacts that might have destroyed critical equipment. She was a ghost in the storm, her presence unnoticed, her skill unquestioned, her heroism quiet, yet essential. In the midst of panic and fear, Claire Thompson's calm competence shone, a subtle thread of survival, woven through the chaos, hinting at a capability far beyond what anyone in the base could have imagined. The base lay in uneasy silence, the echoes of the siege still reverberating across twisted metal and scarred earth. 4 AH-64E Apache helicopters rested on the flight line, grounded and idle, their rotors still despite the urgent need for air support. Qualified pilots were casualties of the attack, either injured or worse, leaving the aircraft effectively unusable in the hands of the remaining personnel. Lieutenant General Michael Rowe stepped forward, his boots crunching over debris, and called out once more, the desperation in his voice cutting through the dust-filled air, asking if any Apache-qualified pilots were present. No one responded. A hush fell across the personnel assembled near the hangar, each soldier frozen, their expressions a mix of fear, exhaustion, and disbelief. The weight of reality pressed down. There were no known pilots left to take to the sky. In that tense stillness, Claire Thompson placed her wrench carefully on a workbench and straightened her coveralls, the movements deliberate and composed. She began to step forward, each pace quiet but confident. Her gaze focused on the helicopters ahead. Whispers rippled through the crowd as eyes followed her path, disbelief written across faces. Soldiers exchanged quiet comments, incredulous at what they saw. She was maintenance staff, not flight crew, and yet, here she was moving toward the aircraft as if she belonged. Some shook their heads, some chuckled nervously, others simply froze, unsure whether to intervene or accept the impossibility unfolding before them. The tension was palpable, a mixture of fear, hope, and anticipation coiling through the hangar like static. Dust drifted lazily through beams of sunlight slicing across the damaged flight line, mingling with the metallic tang of fuel and burnt equipment. Every observer instinctively measured her movements, noting the calm economy of each step, the lack of hesitation, the quiet authority she radiated without a word. The contrast between her unassuming appearance and the gravity of the situation intensified. The uncertainty, could someone so overlooked actually possess the skills to operate the Apache under combat conditions? The moment stretched, the silence amplifying every sound, the scuff of boots, the distant clatter of damaged supplies, the whisper of wind across broken structures. Anticipation built as the assembled personnel awaited some sign, some indication of what would happen next. Claire's calm, unwavering presence hinted at a capability no one had expected, quietly reshaping the expectations of everyone around her. The scene was charged, a suspended moment before revelation, the base holding its collective breath, knowing that whatever came next could change the course of survival for everyone present. Claire Thompson stepped forward from her maintenance station with deliberate calm, her movements quiet yet purposeful. She did not seek permission, nor did she acknowledge anyone as she approached the grounded AH-64E Apache helicopters. The rag secured to her belt came into play, wiping her hands clean of residual hydraulic fluid with practiced efficiency, each motion economical and precise. Her coveralls bore smudges and streaks from her earlier work, but her demeanor was composed, the careful attention to detail suggesting a deep familiarity with the aircraft far beyond ordinary maintenance. Soldiers nearby watched with a mix of skepticism, nervous laughter, and disbelief. Some exchanged glances, murmuring under their breath, questioning the audacity of a maintenance technician preparing to operate a complex attack helicopter. The hangar seemed to contract with tension, every eye fixed on her, trying to reconcile the quiet authority she exuded with the assumption that only flight crew could occupy the cockpit. Lieutenant General Michael Rowe observed her closely, noting the precision in her gait, the unhesitating placement of her feet over scattered debris, and the way her hands moved as if rehearsed in hundreds of prior instances. There was no trial or error, no tentative adjustment. Every movement conveyed skill and confidence, a silent testament to experience that was not immediately visible in her assigned role. The environment amplified the anticipation. Dust swirled in the sunbeams, streaming through the hangar doors. Metal clanged softly under the weight of tension, and the faint hum of idle generators added to the sense of suspended expectation. Claire's every gesture indicated mastery, from adjusting the strap of her belt to the smooth rotation of the cockpit ladder as she approached. Observers could not help but notice the subtle efficiency in her steps, the quiet rhythm that suggested a practiced familiarity with the aircraft controls, an instinctive understanding of balance, leverage, and sequence that only extensive flight experience could produce. With each measured step, the silent tension thickened. The contrast between perceived hierarchy and actual capability became increasingly apparent, highlighting the absurdity of assumptions about her role. Anticipation grew among the personnel. A low hum of realization spread that perhaps what they had taken for background routine was something far more exceptional. Claire Thompson moved with understated authority, embodying quiet heroism, her actions foreshadowing the extraordinary skill that would soon unfold in the cockpit. leaving everyone present suspended between doubt and awe. Claire Thompson climbed into the cockpit of the AH-64E Apache with steady, confident movements, her eyes scanning the array of instruments and displays before her. She reached for the battery switch, activating the aircraft's electrical systems with a smooth, practiced motion. The auxiliary power unit hummed to life, providing stable voltage to the avionics as she moved her hands to the multifunction displays, watching the screens illuminate one by one. Her fingers danced across buttons and switches with muscle memory that spoke of countless hours spent in similar cockpits, each movement deliberate and precise. Sequential engine ignition followed, and the twin turbine engines responded immediately. The rising wail filling the hangar as hydraulic and electrical systems aligned perfectly with her commands. The assembled personnel watched in stunned silence, their eyes following every gesture. Lieutenant General Michael Rowe studied her carefully, recognizing the certainty in her motions, the lack of hesitation that only came from extensive flight experience. A young lieutenant whispered quietly to himself, disbelief flickering across his face as he observed the startup sequence unfolding flawlessly. Each gauge that reached its nominal reading, each warning light that stayed dormant, confirmed what the general had begun to suspect. This maintenance technician was far more than she appeared. The hum of the engines and the gentle vibration beneath her seat added weight to the realization, tension coiling in the hangar as everyone absorbed the unprecedented scene. The cockpit itself was a maze of dials, displays, and switches, every surface alive with information. Heads-up displays flickered to life, showing synthetic and thermal imagery, target designations, and flight data. The mechanical whine of pumps, the soft click of circuit breakers, and the subtle vibrations of the rotors starting to turn blended into a symphony of controlled power. Claire's eyes moved with calm focus, checking readings, adjusting systems, ensuring that everything was aligned and fully operational. Her hands moved with instinctive precision, the rhythm of an experienced aviator, as if the helicopter itself responded to her touch. The tension in the hangar intensified as observers realized the impossible. A maintenance technician operating a sophisticated attack helicopter with flawless expertise, every subtle action, from her grip on the collective to the adjustment of the cyclic, reinforced the fact that she was no novice. The anticipation of takeoff, of imminent combat action, built palpably, leaving everyone in awe. The scene was charged with suspense, disbelief, and quiet admiration, setting the stage for the extraordinary events about to unfold above the battlefield. Claire Thompson lifted the AH-64E Apache off the flight line with smooth precision, the rotors slicing through the smoky air as the helicopter rose into the dawn sky. She maintained a low-altitude nap of the Earth flight path, hugging the contours of the terrain to avoid detection and minimize exposure to enemy fire. Every adjustment of the collective and cyclic was deliberate, her hands moving with practiced confidence as she navigated around ridgelines and trees, keeping the aircraft steady and controlled. The vibrations of the engines and the subtle hum of the rotor blades became a familiar rhythm, a steady pulse beneath her focus as she scanned the battlefield below. Her targeting systems flickered to life, the heads-up displays feeding thermal imagery and coordinates for enemy positions. With the precision of a seasoned combat aviator, she engaged the first target with a Hellfire missile, the vehicle exploding in a flash of fire that illuminated the advancing force. The M230 chain gun followed, bursts of tracer fire cutting through enemy fortifications with calculated efficiency. Every shot was aimed, every maneuver calculated, neutralizing threats methodically while avoiding collateral damage to friendly forces. Ground personnel, including SEAL teams and infantry units, looked up in astonishment, their eyes widening as they realized that unexpected air support had arrived. The tide of the battle began to shift with each precise strike. The enemy caught off guard by the sudden and skillful intervention from above. Claire's movements were fluid, each turn, climb, and bank executed with seamless control. She adjusted for wind, terrain, and obstacles instinctively. Her situational awareness comprehensive and unwavering. Every action was a reflection of extensive combat flight experience, her instincts guiding the helicopter as if it were an extension of her own body. The battlefield below transformed as enemy positions were systematically dismantled, their coordination faltering under the relentless pressure of her attacks. The exhilaration of control and tactical dominance was mirrored by the awe and disbelief of those observing from the ground. The helicopter moved with authority, precise yet dynamic, commanding the airspace as Claire executed maneuvers that would have tested even experienced pilots. The combination of strategic targeting, seamless flight control, and rapid decision-making demonstrated a mastery rarely witnessed in the field. Suspense hung in the air, mingled with a growing sense of admiration, as the maintenance technician turned combat pilot reshaped the course of the battle. Her unexpected presence in the sky became the pivotal factor in survival, every motion asserting her skill, courage, and the quiet heroism that had been invisible until now. Claire Thompson's strikes from the AH-64E Apache reverberated across the battlefield, sending enemy forces into disarray. Units that had advanced with confidence moments before now scattered under the relentless precision of her attacks. Command posts erupted in fire as Hellfire missiles struck with calculated accuracy. Supply depots disintegrated in controlled blasts, and concentrated formations were broken apart before they could regroup. Her maneuvers were fluid and decisive. Aggressive banking turns combined with careful altitude adjustments, keeping her out of direct fire while maximizing the impact of her weapon systems. Each engagement was coordinated, her targeting deliberate, neutralizing multiple threats simultaneously while avoiding friendly positions and critical infrastructure. From the ground, SEAL teams and infantry looked up, astonished to see the unexpected arrival of air support they had presumed destroyed. Their shouts and hand signals were directed toward the sky, a mixture of disbelief and relief painting their faces as they watched Claire methodically dismantle the enemy's coordinated advance. The Apache swooped low, rose with fluid grace, and executed maneuvers that seemed impossible under the conditions, each motion showcasing her extensive combat experience. Every precision strike prolonged the base's survival, preserving operational capability that might otherwise have been lost in the chaos of the siege. As her ammunition ran low, Claire guided the Apache back to the damaged flight line with the same disciplined control she had shown in the heat of engagement, hovering precisely in the gusting crosswinds. She brought the helicopter down gently, landing with perfect timing and minimal stress on the landing gear. Every system shut down, every check of the instruments, was conducted with meticulous care, leaving no question of her skill. Observers remained rooted in place, their awe mingled with relief and disbelief as the magnitude of her contribution became undeniable. The battlefield had been reshaped by a single, unassuming presence, the maintenance technician whose quiet competence had transformed a desperate situation. Her calm decisiveness, tactical brilliance, and mastery of both aircraft and battlefield strategy left the troops below in stunned admiration. Shock, gratitude, and respect spread among those who had witnessed the unfolding events, the realization dawning that one person had shifted the tide of battle with precision and courage. The impact of her actions was complete, leaving both enemy and friend alike to absorb the extraordinary outcome of an unseen hero asserting control over chaos through skill, focus, and unwavering professionalism. Claire Thompson guided the AH-64E Apache back to the forward operating base with unwavering precision, the rotors cutting through the smoky air as she hovered steadily despite gusting crosswinds. Each adjustment of the collective and cyclic was deliberate, subtle, ensuring that the landing gear absorbed minimal stress as the helicopter descended onto the flight line. The hum of the engines blended with the soft creak of the rotors slowing, a mechanical symphony that underscored the quiet mastery of her piloting. She ran through her post-flight checks methodically, securing systems, verifying instruments, and shutting down the auxiliary power unit with exacting care. Every action was executed with calm efficiency, the kind of disciplined focus that comes from experience and expertise rather than a need for recognition. As she climbed down from the cockpit, the assembled personnel remained still, a reverent silence enveloping the hangar. Soldiers and officers alike watched, some with tears glistening in their eyes, realizing the full extent of her skill and the vital role she had played in turning the tide of the battle. Lieutenant General Michael Rowe stepped aside, allowing her unimpeded passage, offering recognition without a word, without ceremony, his gesture carrying the weight of respect and understanding. No applause or verbal praise was needed. The acknowledgement of her heroism was communicated entirely through presence and observation. Claire moved back to her maintenance station, retrieving her rag with the same quiet efficiency she had shown throughout the siege and the flight. She returned to her routine duties, checking instruments, tightening fittings, and inspecting rotors, never looking for attention, never inviting admiration. Her actions in combat had already spoken, leaving an indelible impression on those who had witnessed them. Stories of the silent mechanic began to circulate among nearby bases, shared informally over meals and during downtime, emphasizing the capabilities that had been overlooked until crisis revealed their true importance. The atmosphere carried a sense of closure, an unspoken reverence for a professional whose calm competence had quietly ensured survival and operational continuity. Claire Thompson's understated heroism was a reminder that not all recognition is loud, and not all bravery requires words. In the aftermath, the base carried the memory of her actions, a testament to the dignity, skill, and quiet courage of a soldier who had changed the course of events without seeking notice. Observers felt awe, gratitude, and satisfaction in equal measure, witnessing the unassuming return of a hero to her place among the machinery she had mastered.